Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by a very special guest. Bemidji State women's hockey player Lindsey Featherstone joins the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Lindsey, and thank you so much for coming on. How's everything going?
Good. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on.
No problem, man. Obviously, NCAA players get their fifth year of eligibility this year, so I was just want to ask you, do you plan to use your fifth year, and are you coming back to Bemidji State?
I do plan to take my fifth year, and I'm coming back to Bemidji State.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I know a lot of the Bemidji State fans are probably super excited to hear that as well. So you just graduated your undergrad, though, this past weekend. What was your graduation ceremony like? And just talk about that.
Yeah, it was awesome. The ceremony wasn't how it typically is just because of COVID, so it was only about an hour-long ceremony. But our whole class, or most of our class, was here, and all of our parents were up here. So we got to all kind of get dinner together and celebrate, which was really fun to kind of be together as a class again, since we've all kind of been all over the place since the season ended. So
Yeah. And what have you been up to since the season ended besides just hockey and training?
yeah, just working out. I've been working 3 or 4 days a week. I try to get home to the cities every so often. I'm actually heading home tomorrow. So other than that, we move out of our house in a couple weeks. So my roommates and I have been trying to deep clean and toss out stuff that's been in the house for years. And that's about it.
Nice, nice. Well, regarding your hockey game, what do you hope to improve on for next year?
Yeah, I'd say probably like producing points. I think our team this year really struggled in that area. And so I think that's like something myself and the team can get better at. Obviously just playing with confidence and being a fifth year, there's a lot of younger girls on the team. And so just kind of being an example, whether that's on the ice, off the ice, just kind of how we do things here at Bemidji.
Well, I want to transition and start off this podcast talking about the beginning of your hockey career and work all the way up to where you are now with Bemidji. So you're from Woodbury, Minnesota. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey?
Yeah, so I grew up in Woodbury, Minnesota. I have 3 brothers. So my older brother started playing, and my mom would always bring my younger brothers and I just to the rink for his games. And then the littles is what I call them. My younger brothers are twins. They're about 2 years younger. And so my mom just kind of put us all in it together. And I actually hated it at the start. I didn't like playing with my brothers. I hated every part of it. So I actually quit for a year and tried basketball. And then I hated basketball. And then Woodbury finally came out with a girls program. So then I went back over, and my dad got really involved and helped coach us there. And then I played there through U14s, and then I went to high school.
Nice. And did you have a favorite player growing up that you admired the most?
I don't really know. I think in Woodbury there was a girl who was on the Woodbury high school team who I like loved, but I was like so young that it was kind of just like, oh, I love the high school girls. And I didn't go to like too many Gopher games when I was like really, really young. But I guess, yeah, I don't really know who my like favorite player would have been.
Who did you watch growing up? Because I know a lot of people from Minnesota either watch the Wild or the Gophers or something like that. Who did you?
Yeah, we would go to some of the Gopher games, and then yeah, like the Wild games. Grew up going to those a bunch, especially like in high school. A bunch of like my high school friends and I would go to like the Wild games, the state tournament. That was always a huge thing in high school. I'm trying to think of what else. That was probably the big one. Probably the Wild was the biggest one. That was always like a big thing, like our family would do, or family friends.
Nice. What's the most memorable Wild game you've ever been to?
Um, oh, that's a tough one. I went to one my sophomore year here. I went with my mom once, and that was just memorable because it was just like my mom and I in a suite and got to go to dinner before and spend the night together. So that was really fun since I hadn't seen her much being up here.
That's awesome. Well, the Wild are one of the few teams in the NHL I've never seen play in person before. So they usually don't come down to
Really?
Boston a lot. So hopefully
Yeah.
in the future I can come see them play.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very fun. It's a fun atmosphere down in the cities whenever they're playing. So.
Now, before Bemidji, you played for Hill Murray School. Talk about your experience there and what was that like?
Yeah, I loved going to Hill. I'm so thankful for the opportunity that my parents gave me to go there. And just like the education I got there, the people there are amazing. A lot of my best friends came out of Hill. The coaching staff and the team there, I cannot say enough good things about Coach Jeff Hauser. And Yeah, just the girls. There were so many good girls. My junior year, I think we had 11 or 12 Division I commits, and you just learned so much from the older girls. And they were girls that were playing at a really high level. You've got like a Mackenzie Steffen, a Kenzie Prater, a Rachel Herzog, Jacqueline Casa, who played here and graduated last year. You just had so much top talent in the state at that time. And so it was awesome, and it was so fun. And I was fortunate enough to be on a team that went to state every year, but you get the state tournament, and you'd play Minnetonka, and you have a Presley Norby. You had really good girls all across the state at that time, and so high school hockey was so fun back then.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your coach, Jeff Hauser. What was he like as a coach, and what did you learn under him during your high school hockey?
Yeah, actually, it's really funny. We were family friends. So I used to go to his cabin. I think there's a picture of me and him when I was like 4 or 5 up at his cabin. But he's awesome. He knows so much about the game. He's so knowledgeable. Will push you at times. He'll yell at you if you need it. But he's really easy to talk to. He cares. He's always willing to talk. He really valued us as people and what we wanted to do as a future. Obviously, we would all talk to him about college hockey, and he really wanted to be a part of that if he could. He would help us in any way possible. And so still, like even to this day, he'll reach out, ask us how our games are going, what it's looking like. And I always try to get back to a game or two whenever I'm home and see him and Ches and Dougster. So.
Yeah, and you also got to play with Mackenzie Steffen. What was she like as a teammate, especially since she's had so much success since leaving Hill Murray?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she was awesome. That's one of those girls where being younger, you learn everything she says, you take in. She was very competitive, very talented, very supportive, really took a lot of the younger girls under her wing and kind of just showed us the ropes of, I've played at a really high level, and like, this is what you do. This is how you win games. Like, this is, she would lead by example. And that's something you watch her at the college level, and she did the exact same thing. She had so much success. So yeah, I'm really, really happy for her. Like, she's obviously done so many great things. So.
Now, when you think back to your high school hockey days, what's your favorite memory?
My favorite memory would be, I would say I loved the section final games. Those were amazing. So I would say probably the section final game my sophomore year against Cretin, because we scored with like 20 seconds left to win. And then I loved the state championship games my freshman and sophomore year.
Now, how did playing for Hill Murray help prepare you for college hockey with Bemidji?
Yeah, I think the one thing about going to Hill at that time, where there were so many girls, or so many committed girls, is that every practice was really high level, high intensity. You were going against the best girls in the state every single day. And so it was constantly, it wasn't like, we play a really good team next Friday, like that'll be really good. It was every single day you were going up against the top girls in the state. And so just from a developmental standpoint, like, you improved every year, you improved every day you were there. And then you add in the coaching staff and their level of knowledge and people that they know just within the hockey community. We just had we were given a lot of opportunities, I would say, and you kind of got to take it and run with it and do with it as you wish. And a lot of us took every opportunity that we were given, because you look at that roster my junior year, and there was 11 girls committed at the time, and there was still 4 or 5 that committed after that, which is crazy for a high school hockey team. So.
Now, I have to ask you, being from the East Coast, I don't really understand the hype around the high school hockey scene, because you go to the state tournament and I've seen some of the YouTube clips, and it's pretty insane how you guys fill up the XL Center for a high school hockey game. It's not like that here in the East Coast. So what's it like being a player in that atmosphere and setting in the high school hockey scene at Minnesota?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a huge thing. You get days off from school. Parents are there, everybody goes. On the girls' side, obviously, like, they don't fill the X, but if you get a couple thousand people there, it's really fun. And that's why I would say the section final games were always really fun, because they were in a smaller, like, normal size high school rink, and those would sell out. But just being there for the boys' high school tournament, I mean, they would sell out. It was 20,000 people easily almost every night. And that's crazy. That's so cool for, high school hockey. And you've got people from all over coming to watch, and you just meet a bunch of people. They've got the expo there, and so you're doing different activities. My mom would drop us off there at like 9 a.m. and she'd pick us up at 10 p.m. after the last game. And we would just run around, go to Casetas, go back, watch more games, go to the expo, meet people. It's just really fun. And on the boys' side, it's all good hockey. It's really fun to watch. You've got, some really good guys coming out of Minnesota high school hockey going straight to college or the pros or whatever they're doing. So yeah, it's fun to be there. It's fun. It's a fun atmosphere. It's fun to watch. And it's definitely something special. Everybody sees the pictures and they're like, oh, I don't get it. And I think that's one thing. I think you should add that to your list. Would be the Boys State High School Tournament.
I definitely have to go. It's kind of hard right now because of the pandemic, but
Yeah.
once things hopefully get back to normal, I will plan on going and checking it out. It should be fun.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
one thing I like about the state tournament is, I don't know if they do this on the girls' side, but like when they introduce the players, they do the hair flips. Did you have a chance to do that?
We did not really do the hair flip. But yeah, that's the funny thing. A lot of the boys teams, they either bleach their hair or they do something, and then they make that video at the end of like the all hockey hair team, and that became like a big thing. But yeah, the girls' side doesn't do that as much.
I feel like the girls' side should start doing that. I think that'll be interesting. Then they
I
can
think,
with the boys a little bit.
yeah, I think so too. Get the girls an all hockey hair video.
Now, a question for you is, I guess you have a lot of teammates that aren't from Minnesota. So is it weird talking to them about that high school hockey scene because they might not get it as well?
Yeah, at least right now we have only a few Canadians and then one or two girls from North Dakota. But we have a handful of Minnesota girls, and a decent amount that have gotten to play in the state tournament. Which is funny because Paige Beebe or Tina Campo will bring up times that we played each other in state still. So I think it's fun. I think it's really fun for everybody that has gotten to experience it, just because that was like the big thing in high school. But still, it's memories that have stayed with all of us forever, being we all joke about it or kind of keep tabs on how our high school teams are doing. And our coaches actually put the brackets out. So when sections start, they hang the brackets in the locker room and highlight every team that had a girl go there. And so that's something cool too, just to kind of keep tabs.
Now, what was your recruitment process like, and why'd you want to go to Bemidji at the end of the day?
Yeah, so my recruitment started when I was young. I think I was in ninth grade when I went on my first visit. And then it was kind of, you had your high school season and you'd try to do as well as you could there. And then you'd have all the high performance stuff. And then we had prospects weekends, which is they'd bring in a bunch of college coaches from everywhere, D1, D3, everywhere. And you'd play 5 or 6 games a weekend. And there was typically like 3 or 4 of those a summer. And then I would do the NAHA tournament out east in Vermont. And there was, again, a lot of college coaches. And then I would kind of just try to talk to as many different people as I could. And at that time, so I'm in 99 and everything went by birth year. So a lot of us 99s would kind of, how was your visit here? How was your visit there? What'd you think? So we all just kind of compared notes. And then, ultimately with Bemidji, it's a smaller school. I'm originally from the cities, but I love the atmosphere up here. I love the community. I love kind of that smaller class size. The smaller campus size is really nice for me because I went to a small high school. I'm used to that. The coaching staff is great. The girls are amazing. Actually, our assistant coach now, Emma Terrace, she was here when I was being recruited, and then she was a senior my freshman year. And I mean, you've got girls like her that are so welcoming, so supportive. It was hard to say no. And then I met all my best friends. Our class is so big, and we're all really close, which is crazy that there's 9 of us, and you can develop relationships with the other 8 girls. So yeah, it's been a big blessing. The parents are great. Our parents have so much fun up here together. They come to a lot of games. They travel. So I've just met so many great people. Hockey's been great. School's been great. So.
And what was the biggest adjustment you make to college hockey? Was it the speed of the game or kind of like the mental side of the game since you're making quicker decisions?
Yeah, I would say the speed for sure in the sense of like the physical speed, like the actual speed of the game is a lot faster, like skating faster, but also just yeah, making decisions quicker. And I think it's more physical than high school hockey. And I just think the schedule, the grind of it all is in high school, it's okay, you have 1 hour time slot for practice, and then you've got the youth kids coming out or whatever it was. I mean, we'll be out there for 2.5 hours some days, which gets long, and then you have workout or video, or, you're trying to manage your first semester of college and leaving on a Wednesday to get out to Ohio State or get out east. So that was also a big adjustment, just kind of balancing um, the lifestyle of it all, I would say.
Yeah, and what's the key for balancing both academics and college hockey? Was it a little bit easier this year since everything was mostly online?
It was being with everything since it was all online, it kind of made my schedule a little bit different. So I've been trying to work more. So right now I would work, I guess during the season, I would work 8 to 1, and then I would go to workout at 2:15, and then we'd have practice from like 3:30 to 5:30, and then I'd make dinner, and then I would do homework. And I don't think I could have done that my freshman year, probably not even my sophomore year. But I think once you kind of get the hang of it and figure out what works for you personally, like I can't do homework late at night. I can't do it around 8:30 or 9. My brain shuts off and I'm laying in bed for the night. So if I need to get up earlier to finish something, I will, or whether that's trying to do homework in between work and workout, I would, or in between workout and practice, I would. Just kind of time management. You've got to figure out what works for you. I've got friends who will do homework from 9 to 2 a.m. and that's just not for me. That's not my style. So
Yeah, I'm the complete opposite of you. I get a lot of my homework done like at 1, 2 in the morning usually just because like I like doing stuff during the day and then it's like I gotta get it done at night. So I'm like the complete
yeah,
opposite of you.
yeah. I like need to go to bed early. I can't stay up late at all.
Oh, I'm the
Um,
opposite. I'm a night owl. It's a problem.
that's funny.
Now, what's it like playing under Coach Scanlon and what have you learned under him so far?
Yeah, no, he's been great. He really cares about all of us as people. He's really willing to, work with all of us to improve on whatever we want to improve on. They've incorporated a lot of skill session days. They're willing to, oh, hey, coach, I've got a quick question on this shift in our Saturday game, and he'll pull up video, go over it with you, answer, whatever kind of questions you have. If you want feedback on a certain game, he's willing to give it. So yeah, I think our whole coaching staff this year did a really good job, kind of just with the circumstances and it being so unpredictable. Are we going to play this weekend? Is the series going to be canceled? Or is anybody going to test positive after going home this week? Or are we set to practice? I think it's just there's so many unknowns, and I think our coaching staff did a really good job with that this year.
Now, during your freshman season, you got to play against the Korean national team. What was it like playing against them and trying to grow the game of hockey?
Yeah, no, that was really cool. A once in a lifetime opportunity, obviously, with it having been an Olympic year. And just yeah, really cool to just kind of see another country that you would never get the chance to play, and just seeing that girls hockey is being played all over the world right now, and that's really cool. And just talking to some of them after the game, and obviously that was really cool, just the first college game experience. It's not like you're jumping into WCHA play right away, which is way different than anything. So it was a nice, not a warm up, but just kind of to like get your feet under you, go through the game day experience, and yeah, just see how far women's hockey had come at that time.
Now, also during your freshman season, you beat Minnesota Duluth in the first round of the WCHA playoffs. Talk about that series and what it meant to you since it was your first playoff series win.
Yeah, no, that was so fun. Which we joke about it now because it always seems to come down to us in Duluth. And so I think we had played them like 20 something times when we started playing them this year. But yeah, it's really fun. Games against Duluth are always really competitive, really physical, high paced. And that was just so fun as a freshman, just then getting to go down to Ritter and be a part of the final face off and kind of the nice dinner and the hotel. And it's just a fun experience all around. And I was so fortunate to have been able to do that our freshman year for sure.
Now, obviously, this past season was a lot different than the previous 3 years you were a part of with Bemidji State. I guess, like, how did you deal with all the challenges that your team faced, and what was the key for getting through all of that?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of adversity in a lot of different ways. I think COVID obviously messes with your schedule, it messes with practice, games, everything. And then, we had some injuries along the lines. We lost, a top forward in Ellie Mosier to a knee injury. And so then it's okay, how do we respond to that? We would have girls out with COVID, and then they've got to go through the COVID protocol. And so they're out for 3-4 weeks. And it's, okay, how do we go? How do we get out of this? And then, with not winning a game in regulation and not putting up any points, I think our top point leader had maybe 10, 11 points, which compared to past years, that's very uncharacteristic. So yeah, it was kind of just how do we respond? How do we keep going when it feels like you don't really have anything to play for at this point, besides yourself and your team and your school, your community. And then it's kind of just keeping the attitudes up in the locker room, on the ice, because it gets to be a long season when you're quarantined 3 times, you have only played 16 games, and you haven't won in regulation. We had the couple big losses to Ohio State and Minnesota and Wisconsin. And those are obviously so frustrating. So yeah, it's just a long year. A lot happened, and it was kind of just trying to keep the chemistry between the girls, make sure we weren't pointing fingers, trying to stay positive as much as we could.
Yeah, and you also didn't play in front of any fans this year. Was that an adjustment for yourself, not having that crowd noise?
Yeah, that was different. And just kind of our routines after. Typically, all of our parents would be up here after home games. And so instead of going out to eat with them, it was, okay, like, let's go home. And what do we do now? Do we just hang out? Or, yeah, and obviously that was a really big bummer for all the senior girls that ended up deciding to graduate, not getting to have their parents in the stands for many games. I think we got like 3 or 4 games that we got to have parents. So yeah, that was definitely a way different environment.
You also had to deal with a lot of schedule changes as well. How did you mentally stay prepared for all the postponements and schedule changes that happened, and what was the key for maintaining flexibility for this season?
Yeah, I think it was kind of just, you had to go into every week with the mindset of, we're going to play. We're going to play. We're going to play. We're all going to be negative. They're going to be negative. And the weekends that we couldn't play, it was just, okay, let's do a team scrimmage on Saturday to kind of keep the fitness level up, keep the mindset of, we have a game, we're playing a game. But then it would come the following Monday, and it was, all right, like, we're going to play this weekend. We're going to play. So I think you kind of just always had to be prepared. And I mean, it happened to everyone in the league. Everyone, was getting series canceled, getting multiple series canceled at a time. So I think it was kind of just trying to stay as focused as possible, and just assuming you're going to play until you hear different, so.
And 3-on-3 overtime was also introduced to college hockey this year. I have to ask, as an offensive player, what was it like to have more space on the ice and have more offensive opportunities to score goals in overtime?
Yeah, I think 3-on-3 overtime was a nice addition to college hockey, just because I just think college hockey in general, there's so much skill on the men's and the women's side, and there's so much talent coming out of the game these days, that it's really fun when you get some of those top level players on the ice with a lot of space, whether they're goal scorers or playmakers. There's just so many fun plays that have been happening, I'd say, in college hockey this year, just with players being given that much ice and that much more space to make opportunities like happen, or plays happen. So I think it was fun. I think it's really fun for college hockey, trying to just change it up a bit than what they've had in previous years.
I like that aspect of it, but I also like that they kind of got rid of ties, because I absolutely hate ties. I don't know if you feel the
Yeah,
same way. They're brutal to watch. I don't know if you feel the same way. I'd rather see a winner than a loser.
I agree. And I think for points too, it's, you might as well win.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing about the 3-on-3 overtime is talking to other players. They said you have to be a little more defensively minded in those 3-on-3 overtime situations, because if you make one little defensive mistake, it can cause an odd man rush for the other team. Is that something like
Yeah.
you noticed when you were a part of them?
Yeah, I would say our team had, whenever we'd go into 3-on-3 overtime, we had a handful where it was, a bad line change or a girl was left completely open. And yeah, it's really emphasized when you're playing 3-on-3 on that big of a sheet. If you lose someone, like they will be wide open. Um, and so yeah, it's definitely, there's just way more space and people can sneak behind others. The line changes can get you because you might think your girl's getting off, but the player coming on for her is now on a breakaway into our zone. So there's a lot of unexpected things that could happen in 3-on-3. It's kind of either team could win, anything can go in. So
Now, being a senior this past year, what type of leadership did you want to bring? And just talk about your leadership skills as a whole. And are you more of a vocal or lead by example type of player?
yeah, I'd say I'm more of a lead by example type of player. I'm definitely vocal, but I'm not in your face. I just want to make sure everyone feels welcome and supportive and is having fun. But obviously, if something needs to be said, I don't ever have a problem saying something. But I just think there's a way to get people to listen, and I don't think yelling at anyone is necessarily the way to do that. So yeah, and I'd say a lot of the girls coming back are kind of lead by example. This is how we do things. This is, how we handle a really long practice, even when you don't want to be here. This is how you handle a long game day or a long bus trip. This is how you handle conflict with a teammate, whatever it might be. So yeah, it'll be interesting, especially having some of our class come back with the girls that would have been seniors who kind of got two classes now combining into one, and just kind of seeing how that dynamic plays out.
Yeah, and talk about this past year's freshman class. What were they like, and how'd you try to help their transition into college hockey in this unusual year?
Yeah, our freshmen this year were awesome. I feel so bad they didn't get the normal freshman experience of, traveling out east for a couple series, having some out of conference teams come to us, even just normal class. Getting to see people on campus was like a foreign concept to them. So I think kind of just whatever they had questions on, and like literally anything I could do to help, whether that was socially, on the ice, off the ice. What do you wear for games? How do you pack a bus? What do we do for this 16-hour bus ride, because you guys don't normally do this? There's just a lot of unknowns and a lot of stuff we hadn't been through either, so it was kind of just the mindset of we're all in this together, and we'll kind of figure it out as we go. And obviously they're the youngest, they're freshmen, they have more duties, but it was an unprecedented year, so it's kind of just everybody's got to chip in, everybody's got to be willing to help, and we'll kind of get through it together.
Now, your team didn't qualify for the WCHA playoffs. How are you going to use that non-qualification heading into next year as motivation?
Yeah, I think given typically playoffs, it's a new season. Anybody can be anybody, and all the games are super competitive. And I just think not making it and having to really put an emphasis on we need points every single weekend, the last 4 or 5 weekends, however many it was. You don't want to be in that stressful of a situation every year. You want to be able to play well all year long and be very consistent and have points to put yourself in a really good spot come playoff time. And so, yeah, I think obviously using that as motivation, because if that were to be the case again next year, I don't think any of us want to be out or not even have a chance to play in that first round of playoffs.
So one question I want to ask you before we get into the non-hockey segment is you got to play with Claire DeGeorge, who's obviously your captain this past year. What was she
Mhm.
like as a teammate, both on and off the ice? Because she's one of the best hockey players I've ever seen play. She's awesome to watch.
Yeah, no, she is very talented. I would say the thing that sets her apart from a lot of other people is she's just the hardest worker in whatever she does. In hockey, she's a nursing major, or she was a nursing major here. So in academics, she goes above and beyond in whatever she's doing. And I think that really sets her apart. But yeah, she's very kind. She's very friendly. She's very quirky. She's just her own person. There's things she'd say and we're all like, only Claire would say that, like only that would never come out of anyone else's mouth. But yeah, I'm obviously super sad she's going to leave us because we won't be the 9 of us anymore. There's just 4 of us staying. But I'm so proud of her, so happy for her. I can't wait to see her at Ohio. She's going to absolutely tear it up still. So
Now we're now in the non-hockey segment of the podcast. We're asking you some non-hockey questions. What music
okay.
do you like to listen to on a general basis?
On a general basis, I love country music, but I also love like not like I don't know how like kind of like pop, but not like techno pop, but like not techno. I can't even think of an example. And I also love Akon. That's
Oh,
like
he's
my
awesome.
yeah, that's like a personality trait up here. Everyone's Akon and Lindsey go together. So
Yeah, that song, "Keep You Much Longer," I think it's
yeah,
called. That's a good
yeah.
one. It's that whole
That's
album. It's like every song is like banger, banger.
every song, yeah, is
Yeah.
so good. You've got like
And,
beautiful, like
mhm,
they're all so good.
definitely. Now, what is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve, oh my gosh, probably when someone spills something on the countertop and like sees it but doesn't pick it up right away. And that's like really been emphasized living in a college house. Like that's probably one of my pet peeves. And then I go home and if my brothers do it, I can't. Like I just wipe it down, wipe it down right after it happens. So there's no mess.
Now, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
If I was gonna have lunch with anybody in the world, um, that's such a hard question. I don't even know. I don't know. Maybe like I don't have like a specific person, I guess, but maybe like someone from like World War II or like the Holocaust. That sounds really dark, but like all that stuff kind of really interests me. Like history, something like that I think would be cool.
Now, you obviously have the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who has the best style on the team?
Like off ice style,
Yeah, or both, on ice
off
too.
ice or on ice. On ice, I would say Reese Hunt. Off ice, off ice probably Ani. She's a freshman.
Nice.
Probably Ani.
Who's the funniest on the team?
Oh gosh. Um. Oh, probably Maya Nugent. Yeah, she's really funny.
Now, back to some hockey questions now. My first one is, what should be done to help grow women's hockey, in your opinion?
I think um one, I think just obviously making it an option to a lot of younger girls, getting more younger girls involved in the game. I know up here in Bemidji we have Little Lady Lumberjacks, which is all younger girls that we would go help try to teach skate or play. And then, that Little Wild program through the Minnesota Wild, I think is great. I also think, just like broadcasting more women's games and not just hockey. I think broadcasting more women's sports in general. I think the pay thing obviously should be figured out at some point. I think, getting more exposure for the NWHL, similar to what the NHL has, would be great for, hockey specifically. And yeah, I think the cancellation of women's tournaments because of COVID, but we make it happen for 18-year-old boys is a little outrageous too.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think there's a couple things that could really be done for women's hockey in general and just women's sports.
Now, do you have any advice for younger players who are trying to make it to the Division I level?
Yeah, I would say just like working hard and believing in yourself, and like if you want it, you can 100%, make it happen. Whether that's training longer or just kind of don't be afraid to put yourself out there either and reach out to coaches. Cause I remember I used to be terrified to, you have to call a college coach because they can't call you first yet. And I was terrified. Like I would not do it. And so I would just say, keep working hard and have fun and don't be afraid to put yourself out there or ask for help if there's, a skill that you want to get better at. That was probably like my couple tips, I'd say.
Now, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give to any of your teammates, family members, friends, anyone who I forgot to mention in this interview? Feel free to shout them out.
Yeah, no, I would give a shout out to all my teammates at Bemidji. My family, they can get a shout out. And then probably Haley Blinkhorn and Julia Neris out at Boston University.
Nice.
Go Terriers, and Mariah Keppel, who will be back playing for the Princeton Tigers come this year.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Lindsey. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and coming on. It means a lot to myself. I wish you all the best. I look forward to watching you play next year, and I wish you all the best for your hockey endeavors. I know you're going to do great. You're one of my favorite players to watch, and I just want to let you know.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, one question I want to ask you.